officials in Florida are currently investigating what may be the first U.S. case of a Zika infection transmitted by a mosquito. If confirmed, it would signal that the virus has spread to mosquitoes in the continental United States. In the meantime, new evidence emerging this week indicates the Zika virus is spreading in ways scientists and health officials are completely unprepared for. RT's Marina Portnaya brings us the details from Miami.
At least 229 cases of Zika have been confirmed in Florida, and one of them may be the first U.S. transmission from a mosquito bite. Florida health officials are investigating a Zika case in Miami-Dade County after an adult woman was infected with the virus. Health officials say the unnamed patient had not traveled to any country with an ongoing Zika outbreak. According to reports, infection through sexual transmission has also been ruled out. A statement released by Florida's Department of Health said in part the department is actively conducting an epidemiological investigation, is collaborating with the Center for Disease Control, and will share additional details as they become available. According to the CDC, over 1,300 cases of Zika have been reported in the continental U.S. and Hawaii. Up until now, all were deemed travel-related or sexually transmitted. Health officials have been warning that local outbreaks of Zika would occur this summer in southern states like Florida, which is home to the Aedes aegypti mosquitoes that most commonly transmit the Zika virus. Now, Florida officials will soon begin distributing Zika prevention kits and repellent to pregnant residents of Miami, and also working with mosquito control to reduce the population in the area. Meanwhile, a Zika infection in Utah has raised alarm and many unanswered questions about how many different ways the virus can spread. The CDC is investigating a case in which a family caregiver contracted Zika from the elderly patient she was taking care of. Health officials say the elderly man contracted the virus while traveling. He passed away last month, and his blood contained, according to reports, abnormally high levels of virus, 100,000 times higher than normal. Utah health officials say the infected caregiver has not recently traveled to any area with Zika and has not had sex with someone who is infected or recently traveled to a Zika-infected area. Now, while the CDC continues to insist that Zika is primarily a mosquito-borne disease, doctors and scientists also admit that there's a lot the medical community simply doesn't know about the virus. Reporting from Miami, Marina Portnaya, RT.
Turkey has stepped up its purge following,
the survey says, is because this is a highly geologically active area. Now, all of these quakes have taken place between the areas of Hollister and Cambria, which are two cities in central California. And Hollister considers itself to be one of three places in California that has declared itself to be the earthquake capital of the world. Now, the largest of these was at 3.8, but most of them are much, much smaller. And in fact, there have actually been 70 earthquakes within the last 7 days in this particular area. The USGS says that there's no reason to worry. There's no evidence to indicate that there will be a larger quake. However, they have pointed to a swarm that took place in 2010 out of Yellowstone, in which 2,000 earthquakes took place between a 1-month period. So they do say that people in California should look at this as a wake-up call and a reminder, reminding them in a friendly way that, yes, they do live in a place where earthquakes take place often, and to update their emergency supplies. Simone.
Take cover, Brigitte. It's so interesting to hear that coming from our side of the country where that's not really a big threat. Now, look, we know that the moon has a gravitational pull that affects the tides, but now there's a new study that says the gravitational pull between the sun and the moon can trigger low-frequency earthquakes along the San Andreas Fault in California. Could that have anything to do with this seismic swarm?
It's really interesting, and yes, it's possible, but a lot more research does need to be done because this is a brand new study by a geophysicist at the USGS. Now, this person is Nicholas van der Elst, and his study basically shows evidence that when the moon pulls in the same direction that a fault line happens to be slipping, that more low-frequency earthquakes can take place and more often and faster. So if you look at this graphic here, you'll see that July 17th, which which was 2 days ago, the moon was growing, and that's when these earthquakes are more likely to happen, when the moon is in its waxing phase, when it's growing. And tonight it will reach full moon status, so it's definitely possible that this could happen, but I'm not a scientist. We need more information and more data, but I did want to share it because I do think it's really interesting, and it's something that I haven't heard before living here in California, where we talk about earthquakes pretty much on a weekly basis.
July the 20th, 2016. A powerful 6.2 magnitude earthquake struck the Vanuatu Islands, just north of Australia.
Seabirds have been washing up dead on beaches in Washington and British Columbia this summer. KUOW's John Ryan reports from Seattle.
Something is taking a toll on a funny-sounding, peculiar-looking seabird. This audio comes to us from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. It's the sound of a rhinoceros auklet.
So named because of a little horn on its beak.
Julia Parrish studies seabirds at the University of Washington. She says volunteer beach watchers on the Olympic Peninsula and across the water in Victoria have seen dozens of auklets wash up dead. A few of the bodies have been sent off to a federal forensics lab.
These birds are severely emaciated, so they starve to death.
But scientists don't know yet why the birds starved. They're working to answer that question. Over the past 2 years, other species of seabirds were found dead by the hundreds of thousands on the West Coast, so this summer's die-off is much smaller, so far.
If we ignore it and only pay attention when it's really dire, then it's often too late to do anything about it.
Last year and the year before, warmer waters left seabirds with fewer of their favorite fishes to eat. Parrish says it was like going to the grocery store and only finding rice cakes. The Pacific has cooled off a bit since then, but it's still warmer than normal, and the ocean forecast is for more of the same through next year.
British MPs voted on Monday to renew the country's nuclear weapons system.
To the right, 400. To shore up stability and prevent economic damage. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is holding a security meeting with his cabinet following Friday's failed coup. This comes as an additional 6,500 employees at the country's education ministry have been suspended. Turkey has so far fired and rounded up as many as 60,000 members across security, judiciary, civil service and academia sectors in what appears to be a crackdown against alleged coup plotters and government opponents. Academics have also been banned from travelling abroad.